clean. We are ready to go with a bunch of big batch cooking. It is another big batch freezer cooking day for the grocery store in my basement freezers and pantry challenge that I am working on here in summer 2024. And I got my rolling pin out, and it's been a long time since I've had my rolling pin out, and I am not a professional baker, but let me tell you, through the years, I have put a lot of biscuits made ahead in my freezers, and we're gonna do several dozen of those to get started. I'm continuing to use up items from the grocery store in my basement, and all that really means is I have a lot of people to feed all day, every day, and I have for decades. And so I have been for years sharing about cooking big batch food in advance to just make my mama life easier and help me feed all of my people. And it made so much sense now that I feel my little mama, now that I feel my capacity coming back on a lot of levels, to go through, dig deep, use up random ingredients, clean out my freezers, clean out my refrigerators. The tour is published on this channel so you can see what we're working with. But today, so I have this freezer cooking list I've been working through. Again, the only thing that I bought for today's cooking is butter. I spent $100 on butter because there is no more butter in this house. We have half a stick left, and whenever you get into baking and making breads and making freezer biscuits and all these things, you need butter. So I'm not doing my regular large family mama grocery hauls right now, but I am doing little fill-in things. So I bought butter and I bought bananas. We have one watermelon left. I'm sharing weekly what food we're using up and what gaps I'm filling. I love to have butter in my freezer because we use butter, ode to butter, we can write a poem. Anyway, I have a plan for today. Let's see how far we get. I want to make freezer biscuits, freezer fruit bread. I want to make applesauce muffins, and all of these things can go in the freezer and be prepped ahead for all of my family folks. I also have what I need to do jar salads, and I have some radishes that I've been threatening to roast that I'd like to get roasted today, and I eat those like potatoes. I have some family folks who eat them, but that's more a mama meal prep. Then, hopes and dreams, I would love to do homemade chicken pot pie using our home canned chicken. I've got about 20 quarts downstairs in my candy pantry. I want to use up. We could probably use 4 to 6 quarts of that in doing the pot pies. And then also do some shepherd's pies that I'm calling prairie pies. That's what a friend of mine called it because I have some ground bison. But in the freezer, I also had a 1-gallon bag of some miscellaneous pre-cooked ground beef. That's always helpful to have on hand. And I have a gallon bag of pre-cooked ground turkey. So we'll get into that. But for sure today, while I'm in this shirt until I ruin it, haha, I want to get the freezer biscuits, the freezer fruit bread, the applesauce muffins going. So stick with me and let's get cooking. So I'm using my recipe over on largefamilytable.com. I will have it linked below, but I have done freezer biscuits many times. It was mainly over at the Forest House. I don't know. I don't think I've done, I know I've done biscuits, but I have not done big batch, like several dozens of biscuits at a time for the freezer at this house. And you know we keep my cooking projects straight by the houses that I've lived in. So I'm taking my big batch freezer biscuit recipe that does 2 dozen. I'm going to double it, so hopefully we end up with about 48 or so biscuits. I will, but then I'm like, but wait. I probably need to cook 2 dozen for all these people to eat, because if they're doing, meal plan with me, okay. If we're using a gallon of leftover gravy from the freezer, and they'll want jelly biscuits, it'll just be a thing. Maybe let's ×3 the recipe, so the hopes and dreams are, like all my freezer cooking projects, that we can actually get some in the freezer. Okay, so my 2 dozen recipe is 6 cups of flour, and we are, I'm just gonna see if I know where my 1.5 cup measuring is. May not be a thing. Well, I found another 1 cup one. So anyway, we're gonna do 18 cups of flour, because why not?
And so, yes, I decide to triple my recipe that's up over on the blog. For just 2 dozen, it's 6 cups of all-purpose flour. I've also done it with whole wheat, 4 tablespoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 3/4 of a cup of unsalted butter. You can also use shortening and milk. And so we are doing, of course, all of that times 3, doing good on our math here, making things happen. So I combined the flour in my 30-quart mixing bowl, and then we add in the baking powder and the 2 teaspoons of salt. And then for the butter, I fork it to death. You will see. We're going to mash up the butter and then add in the milk. Then we mix up all of our ingredients and roll it out on a surface to get our dough ready. So I just add extra flour as needed so the dough doesn't get too sticky.
So since we're times 3, my already big batch biscuit recipe, it's 12 tablespoons, so 3/4 of a cup of baking powder. And this baking powder we're using up is from my Azure order from a year ago. I ordered a whole box of it, so that is nice. We have our 18 cups of flour. I'm going to add this in there, and then we are doing, what is it, 6 teaspoons of salt. I'm going to focus on the baking powder. So I'm proud of us. We're doing things. It has been a while since my folks have had biscuits and gravy, so they will appreciate that. And then biscuits, I mean, breakfast sandwiches, whatever we need to do. My plan is to do a bunch of pot pie filling. Let's see, I'm on 3, 4, and with that, we will do biscuits on the top. Made it through. And then also times 3 in our recipe, it was 3/4 of a cup of butter. Sorry, I just realized it was just my legs talking there, huh? I had no head. 3/4 of a cup of butter, 2 1/4 cups, since we have done the multiplication, and I only need, okay, 4 sticks of butter and then half of another stick. And if my math is off, it'll be okay. But I think we're pretty good. I think we're good here. I'm just proud of us for doing this because it has been a while. And if I can get back to doing a load of biscuits even once a quarter, that'll give us some nice options from the freezer. And then I'm just gonna take my fork and bust up my butter here some. Let's see. Well, apparently a serving fork is what is called for today. So forget the fork, we'll just do this the old-fashioned way, especially with this much butter. And my hands are gonna be getting in this soon anyway, so might as well just get acquainted at this time. Poor little fork, you tried to serve your purpose. So it's also been a long time since I've made the freezer fruit bread. I feel like I've made that at this house, but then again, it has been a good bit. So I'm glad to get these things in the freezer. Well, gotta get them made first, then we'll get them in the freezer. I will keep a sampling out, just like we'll save some biscuits out for tonight. And my big hope is to get through the chicken pot pie and the shepherd's pie in today's video, but if all we get is the biscuits and the fruit bread and the applesauce muffins and the jar salads and the radishes roasted, then don't worry. The chicken pot pie filling and the shepherd's pies are coming at you next. Alrighty, so I'm just leaving my hands flour-y because hey, we're cooking here. I need 9 cups of milk. So we'll just do it in 3-cup increments. There's our first load. Now, questioning all my life decisions. If I would have known I was going this far, I would have taken my watch off. But we always like adventure around here, right? Alrighty.
And so yes, future confessions here, we do not get to do the chicken pot pies or the shepherd's pies in today's video, but we get so much other things done, and this was a great afternoon and into the next afternoon just a little bit. Big batch freezer cooking day. Now I do have another big freezer cooking day that'll be coming out here pretty soon, and it is where we do a day where we do tons of pot pie filling. We get a lot of prairie pies done and many other freezer cooking recipes, so I think you're going to really enjoy that. That's coming out here next video or one after, but it's in the lineup. It's already done, and we are already enjoying the fruits of that labor. And let me tell you, these biscuits, they've been a hot commodity. We do about 9 dozen on this big batch cooking day, and I tell you, these humans here, they just like Mama's biscuits. And I'm just using a canning ring there to cut out my biscuits. The only thing I wish I would have done a little different is just a little bit of a thicker biscuit. It all gets into the thickness that we roll the dough out, and I was just so happy. So no shame in my mama game to be getting biscuits done in advance, especially while I had my flour hands and everybody, you know, in their places, so I could make these biscuits. We do some big batch flash freezing where I freeze these biscuits for later. We also bake up a few dozen for this evening, and it also goes into the next day. And we use some of my sausage gravy also from the freezer to have biscuits and gravy, which was nice. I do want to do some biscuits and gravy in an upcoming, on a big freezer cooking day coming up, because my folks really enjoy that, and it's just a blessing to open the freezer and have 4 1-gallon bags of gravy, and it's something everybody likes. We don't have it too often, but if it's in there, I mean, we might have biscuits and gravy 4 times over 12 weeks, and it's just nice to have them mess once and then just heat it up from there. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and get these first 2 dozen in the oven, and these will be for my folks to have on hand. And I'm looking at the honey, and I'm already thinking different ways that they are going to eat these biscuits. Alrighty, so I'm going to get a few more biscuits out of this. My plan is the other several dozen that hopefully comes together here, we're going to flash freeze, and then in the past I have taken those that I have flash frozen, and we'll put them in the gallon freezer bags, and then when we need biscuits, all I have to do is get them out of the freezer. So that is great. And so whatever dough I have left, I just wad it all back up together and then roll it back out and use my little canning ring there. I do have, you see out on my counter, I do have actual biscuit cutters. And one of my folks found that set for me, but by that point I was already invested with my canning lid there. So I've used cups turned upside down and different creative things to cut my biscuits in the past. And then I just continue to use that dough, and then we'll get another batch out and go from there. I rub my rolling pin down with just a little flour that's already out on the counter, and get as many biscuits as we can for our efforts here. So when I flash freeze my biscuits, I just put them on parchment paper and put them in the freezer for about 2 hours or so. And honestly, sometimes they're in the freezer overnight and I get them out the next day. And the whole point with that is I have them individually frozen, and then I will take them off the parchment paper and put them in gallon freezer bags. And that way we just have Mama's biscuits ready to go from the freezer. We recently made, let's see, 5 quarts of homemade apple butter. So I can report from the future that we've had some yummy hot biscuit morning stations. I always say, like, you know, a biscuit station or an oatmeal station or a pancake station. And what that means is we will set out butter, and we will set out our apple butter. We will set out some of our home canned jam. Right now we have some strawberry jam that we home canned, and we have some mixed berry jam that we home canned, and we will set all those options out, and then everyone can just get their hot biscuits fresh out of the oven and put whatever toppings they would like once it's so sad that we're out of sausage gravy. the stickiness. It wasn't too wet. Really, the dough felt just fine to me. That's my professional, non-professional baking terms. Feels just fine. I definitely have had times where my dough is too wet and it requires much more flour, but we are doing it, we are making it, and I was so glad to get this done because doing biscuits for the freezer has been on my big batch freezer cooking list honestly since last summer. I had a big whiteboard last July where I did, it was just one of my last big batch cooking days. And the videos here on the YouTube channel where, hey y'all, remember how long you've been a viewer? Remember where I had, I probably had pink eye. I had an eye infection. Let's talk about an eye infection while we cook. But have always been so dedicated to taking care of my family that even though I only had one good eye, I wanted to get that video done before I went on a trip for a few days, and just keeping up with all the things, busy mama. And so anyway, during that cooking time in 2023, I had a big batch cooking list I was working off of, and I've done most of the things on that list. I've picked away at it slowly. I have a new list here for 2024, and that's the way I do it. I get all these cooking ideas and I write them out on my whiteboard, and over several videos we will accomplish those different tasks. I also, of course, use my own big batch freezer cooking guides that are available over at shop.largefamilytable.com, and those have my cooking days just totally planned out. So when you don't want to think, or when I don't want to think, but I just want to get 40 lunches or 40 dinners in my freezer, I will follow those. Those do have smallish batch guides as a bonus within them, where if you follow those, you can get like 12 to 15 dinners, maybe not the whole, 35 to 40. And I definitely want to cook up some of those coming up. Once I work through these, I'm just stretching my capacity right now. So I'm having fun, and I have to keep cooking fun and life fun, and I'm having fun working through my project list. Like coming up, I want to focus on canning, and I want to can all of our tomatoes that are in the freezer, plus some friends' tomatoes, plus a bunch of big bulk boxes I'm sure we can get from the John Henry General Store. So lots of cooking projects on the horizon. Well, look at us, friends. We have 85 biscuits, over 7 dozen, that are going in the freezer. This is my happy mama voice, that are going in the freezer to flash freeze, and then we will get them in labeled gallon freezer bags. And we also have 2 dozen in the oven, so that's 9 dozen freezer biscuits. Of course, 2 dozen are gonna get eaten today. Alrighty, so I'm so excited. Hold on, now I gotta jump. Jumping for soap. I'm so excited because, yes, over 7 dozen biscuits going in the freezer. Who are we? 2 dozen in the oven right now. I just looked at some of my kids and I was like, I need somebody to eat a hot biscuit with honey on it. A few were not interested. I got a few blank stares, and I'm like, look, I need this. I need someone to enjoy a hot biscuit with honey. So I'm going to sit and have some of my keto granola with sugar-free almond milk here in my chair, really wanting a hot biscuit with honey, but that is okay. Mama is doing things, and I am getting food in my freezer using supplies I already have on hand for my folks. We are gonna also spray down this counter and get that wiped, and then we're moving on to freezer fruit bread, which I am equally excited about. Happy helpers carry these down for me, and I'm going to get them in the freezer now to flash freeze. All that is doing, it is individually freezing each biscuit, so then we'll be able to take a couple gallon freezer bags. Maybe we'll fit 2 dozen per gallon bag. That would be great, and they won't stick together because they'll already be frozen, and it'll be fantastic. And I have baked them from frozen, and I have also set them out to defrost and baked them that way too. And it may not be, not sure which freezer I'm putting, well, okay, this one I could put some in here. Let's see here. So when I do flash freezing, it's just wherever I can randomly fit a baking sheet, and then in about 2 hours, I'll come back down and then we will bag them. And I can probably put this on some frozen vegetables, and I might even be able to get a third down there. Our tomatoes that are bugging us, but we got a plan for them, don't we? They are going to fulfill their purpose in life. Okay, this one, let's see, I just got some more things out of this morning. I can probably set that there. So that's as simple as that is. And now we will have 7 dozen biscuits in the freezer. I'm proud of us. Hits now. This afternoon I'm going to put these biscuits, there have been some that have been eaten with butter, putting these in a baggie, and yay, dinner's almost done already. But back to asking where inspiration is striking. And so I think we're going to do the applesauce muffins next. I have no muffins in the freezer, and we have canned applesauce. So the ice maker's chiming in. We have canned applesauce that we need to use up. So making several dozen applesauce muffins will be great. And still gotta wash out that bowl. And then we will also, in another hour or so, well, once we're done dealing with these applesauce muffins, we will go down and get those biscuits that are flash freezing in gallon freezer bags too. All right, so I'm gonna get another big bowl out to do the applesauce muffins here. And I'm gonna just try to play it straight by my recipe. I'll link it down below, largefamilytable.com. 6 cups of flour, 3 cups of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, tablespoon of cloves, baking powder, 7 eggs, 7 cups of applesauce, cup of oil, and that makes 6 dozen applesauce muffins. So let's see if any lies are told. Alrighty, so gonna open up another thing of flour. Had a bunch of flour around when I was doing all that sourdough, and you've got to feed it flour constantly. So we are using it up with these other projects. All right, and so somehow in this universe, I have cinnamon sticks and I have clove powder, but I also have apple pie spice. So all problems solved. That's what we will use in these applesauce muffins. Just getting another flour muffin. So I use my sugar as my tripod often. So guess I gotta put it to work in another way now. And a family member added this to this jar. See if we can shake it up some. Maybe not. Get a wooden spoon.
on the recipe that'll be linked down below, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and a tablespoon of cloves. And so, Jamerrill style cooking math, I'm gonna do 3 tablespoons, hello ice maker, 3 tablespoons of apple pie spice because that makes sense, okay? Now let me take a peek at the recipe again. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of baking powder because it was 6 teaspoons. Okay, jumping over. All right, then it's gonna be our 7 eggs and 7 cups of applesauce and all those good things. So just mix these up for a moment. A few little sugar clumps to break up. Not too bad though. And I don't have another, I have Mega Mama bowls, but my other bowls are being used for various things here. So I'm gonna just do my wet ingredients in my Rubbermaid container. That has never steered me wrong. Oh, the end of it even is a little melted there. It has stories to tell like we all do. And a quart. I'm going to use one of these and then 3/4 of the other one, but there we go. Home canned applesauce that we did. This is my okay. Well, most of its purpose is served. Alrighty. Working through our azure oil. See how much we need. 1 cup. Just prop it up there for a moment. I need to open another bottle of it. We had lost the lid to that one and we've had a little plastic wrap on it, so proud of us for working through that and not spilling it. Pretty good. Really, I just need to get my mixer out. Go ahead and do that. All right, and the other mixer has been found. I haven't used it, but I do know where it is now. So, kitchen mystery solved. If you missed that worldwide update, it was in my corner cabinet. So at least we have answers. I like answers. They're helpful.
And so for these applesauce muffins, again, the recipe will be linked down below. I do have some different applesauce muffin variations over on largefamilytable.com. But for the 6 dozen, it is 6 cups of flour, 3 cups of sweetener of your choice, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, a tablespoon of cloves. Of course, we get creative because I couldn't put my hand on my cinnamon exactly during this part, but fun update on that coming up later in this video. 6 teaspoons of baking powder, 7 eggs, then 7 cups of applesauce. Now in my original recipe I used Walmart unsweetened applesauce, and then today we are using our home canned applesauce that we did right here in the Mega Mama kitchen. I use a cup of oil from Azure, and again this makes 6 dozen applesauce muffins, and we just play it straight on this day and make that exact amount. Alrighty, so I might have some of these overfilled a little bit. I'm new at this, haha, but supposed to get 6 dozen. I have almost 5 dozen, and I'm fine with this. So let's get these in the oven. All right, so again, link down below is my freezer fruit bread. It's been a while since I've made this, but I know I've made it a bunch, but we got a couple years again in between. So on the blog, in the description, it says, enjoy wonderful blueberry, applesauce, banana bread, whatever fruit you want to use. I use this recipe to make a 9x13 dish, a 9x11, an 8x8, and a 9x5. Wow, what an ambitious girl. Okay, so it's 5 cups of blueberries or applesauce or mashed bananas or whatever kind of fruit bread you have in the making. And I don't even know what fruit I brought up here because it's been a few days, but we got some fruit. A cup of oil, 5 eggs, 5 teaspoons of vanilla, 2 cups of milk, 5 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of salt, 3 cups of white sugar, 2 cups of brown sugar, 7 cups all-purpose flour. And so I don't have brown sugar. I know I could make it with my blackstrap molasses, but anyway, I got coconut sugar and it's brown. Let's use this up because pantry freezer challenge, right? I got regular old granulated sugar, and let's see, combine dry ingredients in one bowl, wet ingredients in another. Fill baking dishes half full of your fruit bread mixture. Place baking dishes in preheated oven, 350 for 45 minutes. Oven time. Very, very nice. Thanks for letting us know. Okay, let your loaves cool and then place in gallon freezer bags. And some of them I sliced a few loaves before or I put the whole loaves in. So let's follow this lady's recipe, okay? Okay. Alrighty, so I am not stopping to wash dishes right now. And that's because I'm meeting my good friend Pam for dinner, and we're just gonna keep on rolling. And we'll think about the dirty dishes later, okay? So that's why I have multiple Mega Mama bowls. So, and I'm looking at our fruit here. So, of course, I have applesauce, and I have a bag of blueberries, blackberries from Azure. I have a bag of, let's see, it's a pound of whole strawberries from the land of great value. And then I have a Costco bag that was about half full of 3 berry blend. So I'm thinking I might, totally eyeballing, so if it's 5 cups of berries, I'm thinking I should have at least 10 cups. I'm just thinking out I may be doing a double batch, okay? You know what, we could measure our berries, then we might know for sure, but then that would take some of the excitement out of life. So, you know something I've been doing for myself, I was just telling another friend this morning, don't mind me while I pour out the juice here. I've been listening to Anne of Green Gables, and that's my idea of a good time. I have not really been listening to audiobooks lately, and I haven't been doing a lot of personal reading other than reading Psalm 18. I can't get out of that one. And again, for 2024, if I read Psalm 18 a bunch and take that into my soul and listen to music and podcasts that are helpful and can work in listening to audiobooks, that will be good. That will be good. I was just doing a video, Q&A video for my large family table community membership. Hold on here while I'm dropping murdered berry evidence around my floor. And anyway, in that video, they were just asking me about things I enjoy listening to. And I just enjoy Anne. And having someone else read Anne of Green Gables is very soothing to me. And I've been able to listen to it while running. Usually while running, I listen to music or podcast. But just something else entering into my life. Hey, look, I'm listening to audiobooks. So, just thought you might like to know. I have Anne, just like all the times I've read the whole series to my children, I get Anne's voice and little jokes in my head, and she has a lot of words, so there's a few things in common. Okay, so let's see, my dry. Well, that would be my baking soda, my sugar, and my flour. So let's do that. Okay, so, oh, and 5 teaspoons of vanilla. And look at this. We can also use our homemade vanilla. I'm proud of us. So, focus, focus, focus. Oil, milk. Okay, baking soda. I'm just gonna throw my baking soda in here. Oh, but I was doing a double batch. Okay, I should have done the conversions. I'm too deep now. Okay, I'm doing 10 teaspoons, but I have my teaspoon. This is 4 or 5. 5? What could go wrong? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Because somewhere in there I decided to go for the double batch, but I'm not measuring my fruit until I put it in, but I'm eyeballing this as, that's gotta be 10 cups. Okay, let's see if it doesn't do us wrong. Okay, salt. We will do 4 teaspoons, not this time, because again, it's what's in my hand. 2, and then my timer went off over here for our applesauce muffins. So yeah, smells delicious. I'm gonna take those out and probably bring those up and then put that pan in. Okay, so finding mistakes early on. So my recipe calls for baking soda. This one, I use baking powder. This one. And so from going down the Google universe, I'll link some articles below. I need to use 3 times. See, we were already doing math, mega math in our video, but I used, this is where my brain hurts. I was doubling the recipe because I've got, just stick with me, it's gonna be great. I was it's easier if I close my eyes though, okay? Because then I get distracted by the things in front of me. I was doubling my big batch recipe because I'm sure I have 10 cups of fruit, okay? This is where Anne Shirley and I are kindred spirits, all right. Okay, so I did 10 teaspoons because I had the teaspoon in my hand of baking powder. My recipe calls for baking soda. And now I need to use 3 times as much of the baking soda amount in baking powder to have the same leveling action. So I'm pretty sure we're at 30 teaspoons, which at this point I need a calculator. Okay, math checking. So if things don't go right, let me look at, okay, so I was at 5 and I was doubling that, so that is 10. And if we triple 10, we're at 30, right? 10 times 3 is 30. 30 teaspoons. I believe this is going to be 10 tablespoons because there's 3 teaspoons and a tablespoon. So, math brains, trying. Half a cup of baking powder is what is needed. And if I'm a fool and doing foolish things, you know where to come for a good time, right? Okay, so, because we have 10 teaspoons in there. Just laugh with me, it'll be good. And the proof will be in the pudding or the bread, or yeah, it could be for or against us, right? Okay.
We're going with it. It's good. 10. Half a cup more. All right. And 6 cups of white sugar, 2 cups of brown sugar. And we're using up different sugars. And I am totally using a liquid measuring cup. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. It'll all work out in the end. Let's see how many cups of coconut sugar we're getting in here. So we're a little over 2 cups. I'm going to, let's see. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 cups. And I have used liquid and dry cups interchangeably. Before I knew there was a difference. And even now, what do I know? So we'll be okay. I do need another wooden spoon though. And hold on, I'm checking on the muffins for a minute. Those are looking good. It is smelling like a McDonald's apple pie in here. So that is good. We should have enough. I mean, who knows? But these applesauce muffins could be gone within a week. But in theory, we should have enough fruit bread, applesauce muffins, and biscuits, maybe, for the rest of the summer. I don't know. Keep watching and we'll see. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to try to get 10 cups of sweetener. And it was good to use this up. I don't like keeping sugar in this anyway. But that wasn't going to figure out. So we'll call this, well, this is 4. Okay. That's my timer to forget things in the oven. Be right back. Okay, so I'm just doing 8 cups of sugar. I know this is a lot of bread, but let's just do that. I think it should be sweet enough, and we did use up the rest of our organic coconut palm sugar, and then regular old sugar here. Now it is 14 cups of flour. Ingredients, it's like drum roll please, do we have 10 cups of fruit? And you know, I would probably just use some applesauce if I needed to. I do have a lot of juice here now, so let's see. And you know, historically, I think this is, okay, I'm saying 2 sentences at one time. What I want to say is, you know, historically online, I am known for murdering blueberries and having a whole blueberry situation. If you don't want that, you can roll your blueberries in flour, but with my mushy to frosted fruit that's going to be all blended up, it ain't happening, but that's okay. I just like to know roughly how many berries we're working with here. Yay. So there's our berry situation. There's our dry ingredients over yonder. And so now I'm gonna do 2 cups of oil, 10 eggs. I'm saying 10 teaspoons of vanilla, but we'll convert that. 4 cups of milk. And yeah, mix that together and get going. All right, so we're gonna do our 2 cups of oil here. All of my measuring cups come out to play today. cups of milk. Which will look like strawberry milk, and hey, we're doing things. We're saving a dish. Now we've got 10 teaspoons of vanilla, which isn't quite 3 tablespoons, but I'm going to call it 3. It's close enough. Not exactly baking science with Jamerrill. So if we were going for lavender bread, which of course we were, we have accomplished that, okay? So all things are going well. And let's see though if I can move these bowls around. doing all the things. I am going to dinner tonight with one of my best girlfriends. Been one of my best girlfriends for well over 20 years. We've been planning 45 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of this batter out into the different containers like we've been working on. I'm going to have Teen Boy put it in my downstairs refrigerator, and tomorrow, before we go to the lake for the day, yay kids summer, we will get these baking, and then we will also do jar salads and just continue on from there. Not an all afternoon thing like we've been doing today, but morning before I go sit at the lake all day. Okay, so we have I got 3 big bread pans, 1 9 by 13, 2 dozen. We're gonna have 4 dozen of these little mini muffins. And like I say, we will think about that tomorrow, but we'll at least get them prepped to bake tonight. I could put them in the oven and then have folks get them out while I'm gone, but because I have so many different sizes and times and such, it just does not need to happen. It just would be much better for me to do it in the morning. That will be just fine. I might just use my spoon here. That would be better. And the only other baking pans I have available are my deep dish ones. I'm not going to do a true deep dish of this freezer fruit bread, but I still might use one like a quarter of the way full, just because it's the pans I have. Although I might have an 8 by 8 loaf pan in my drawer here too. Different shirt, slowly getting myself cleaned up to go out the door. I've got my timer set for about 15 minutes, so just want to do a tidy up. I'm going to leave my applesauce muffins out here to still cool. We will bag those up later, and we need to bag the biscuits, and we need to get this to downstairs refrigerator. So we're doing things. Alrighty, I'm going to have someone that looks like me carry this down to downstairs refrigerators. And again, we will just bake these things up tomorrow, because that sounds like a good idea.
these are the applesauce muffins that are out. They're still cooling. I imagine though later we will have less to bag up. So I am back, and they did eat probably about a dozen of the applesauce muffins. And so I'm just gonna put these in the refrigerator for tonight. They are a really hot commodity. I just had a kiddo get the rest of these in a bag here for me. And we'll see. We'll make decisions about freezing them tomorrow. This is supposed to be for freezer meals, but tomorrow is a big swimming day and these might come in handy. It's all about using up ingredients. So I'm back this afternoon. I've been running my folks around all day doing fun summer stuff. Even though we've had a heat advisory, we did things inside air conditioners. I went downstairs to pull up this freezer fruit bread that we prepped yesterday. I had requested that it all be put in the refrigerator down there and I would bake it up today. Was planning to bake it in the morning, but that's okay. We took off a little sooner than expected. I was like, I'll do it in the afternoon. But I just had a little surprise. It didn't get put in the refrigerator. It got put in a freezer. So I'm going to just let it sit for a bit and then we'll have a go at baking it. I'm hoping later this evening. I don't know what's gonna happen, but here's what I do know. Look at this. I also brought up our trays of our freezer biscuits. So I'm gonna at least get these in bags now and labeled. I got 4 trays. We got 7 dozen total. And then here's my freezer fruit bread that got put in the refrigerator. But anyway, I'm either gonna put this down in a refrigerator for it to defrost, or I'm gonna take a go baking it. I don't know. It was a surprise. Alrighty, so got lots of fun happening in the house here. I'm going to write freezer biscuits on these bags, and we will just see how long it takes us to roll through these. Let's see here, freezer biscuits. Okay, and then those applesauce muffins that they did get into last night, they're not paying attention to today, which is fine. Of course, we've been out, but I have some other food things happening right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get those in the oven. In the freezer, I'm gonna go ahead and freeze these. Now, they were put in this bag a little willy-nilly, so this is just quick put away. So I'm gonna put those flat in the bags, in labeled bags for the freezer, but we will get to those as well. And I'd like to put about 2 dozen or so biscuits in here. And I also just had a fully formed thought. I bet how the freezer fruit bread ended up in the freezer instead of the refrigerator is the fact that it's called freezer fruit bread. See, you all are so smart. You're the smartest viewers ever, and you're able to pick up on that stuff. You had that thought, but it took me being in the future and watching back through this video and doing the voiceover for you guys, where I was like, that's why. Even if I said, put the freezer fruit bread in the refrigerator and I'll bake it tomorrow, just the fact that I threw the word freezer is in there. And so folks who are helping me are just like, well, what's the details? Freezer. She said, put this in the freezer. So it all, we actually work out pretty well with that. And you'll see that coming up. But just while I'm watching through this video again with you all, I was like, that's why. Because quick directions, and I said freezer fruit bread, take it downstairs. That makes sense. Even if I said, put it in the refrigerator. Just the title would throw the whole thing off, and everybody's just trying to help mama. So that's all. And yes, we gave those applesauce muffins their opportunity. Probably a dozen or so were eaten as well. And then what was left, when I see attention is not being paid anymore, I'm like, especially with these big batch cooking days, I'm like, I can get these in the freezer, and on a day that we really need them, I'll be able to bring them out, and that'll be a blessing on that day. Alrighty, look at us. We're getting things in the freezers. Let's go take these downstairs. I said it was out of ground cinnamon. This, I obviously opened it. I don't have a container for it anywhere that I can find, so I'm going to do a new one now. I'm just going to write on this with a Sharpie because going to get my label maker will be a whole thing. So this was such a blessing to find this ground cinnamon from Azure, and I am feeling like an Azure order in our future. Again, we're going to continue on this pantry and freezer challenge. I've got probably, well, in real time, we're on week 4, and so we're using through many of these items, but hopefully by fall, let's put in a big Azure order, and that'll be a lot of fun. And during this time, it will really help me assess on what I need and the holes I need to fill by September-ish. So that means we might put the order in August for a September pickup. We'll walk this out and see how it goes. We got our various levels of freezer fruit bread in the oven there. Just refilling the napkins, using up the last of those. And so here I am getting jars out to do a dozen jar salads. Now I get so many questions about these jar salads, and I do have an easy salads in jars guide that's over at shop.largefamilytable.com, and I will also have that linked in the products for you all below if you are interested. And with that guide you can make so many different dozens and dozens of jar salads, and you can of course do half a dozen and a dozen at a time as well, but there's a lot of different fun recipes in there. Okay, so our bigger loaves are still in, but all of our little mini muffins, these are our freezer fruit bread minis. So we'll have 4 dozen of those. Everything else is continuing on. So I'm just going to set those little minis out to cool. I do keep a half bag full of those in the upstairs refrigerator when I'm done with this cooling event here, and then we do get bags of them in the downstairs freezer as well. And muffins are just helpful, you know. I do have these mega muffin guides, and we bake up all kinds of muffins, you know, sweet muffins, savory muffins, breakfast, lunch, and dinner muffins, corn dog muffins. We haven't done those in a while either, and I mean, those I can't even keep in my freezer. They are such a hit around these parts. So we definitely will continue the muffins a-going. They're great for little hands, for big hands, you know, all sizes here. So yeah, I just like to get them in the freezer as I can. So in prepping our jar salad, now we did a few days before I filmed this big freezer cooking and meal prep video, I had gone to Aldi and I spent $194. That was in the video before this one, I believe. I believe it's called Feeding 10 People All Day Every Day. And in that video, we were in week 2 of our Use It Up freezer and pantry challenge, which again, I'm going to try to go for 12 weeks or so. So in real time, I'm in week 4, and I can tell you things are moving right along and these items are being used. Like from the future, the jar salads are already gone, okay? And here I am cutting up a little snack plate for my toddler. I chopped him up some cucumbers, quartered some tomatoes, chopped down a banana, gave him a little ranch dip for his cucumbers there, and that was just his snack plate that evening. I also have a family member who is requesting a special mama big bowl salad made, so I chopped up all that lettuce. There is from a friend of mine's garden. When the lettuce is still going strong. So I make my family member a special yummy salad with sliced tomatoes and some canned chicken and ranch and bacon bits and all the good things. And they ate that whole bowl up as their dinner. And then we continue on and make the jar salads. Now this family member also wanted a sliced green pepper. So I just do all the little mama requests there. Now that one bottle of ranch that's upside down on my island, that's the last ranch in this house. thinking about it now, I'm like, oh, I could have made homemade ranch. I have the ranch powder from Azure. And let's see, I'm trying to think if I had Greek yogurt, what else I had. But anyway, that was not in my thought process on that evening, and that is okay. I use the Olive Garden Italian dressing that I had in the pantry at the bottoms of all of these jars. So lots of people ask me how to make jar salads. And so step one, you get your jars out. I usually reuse lids that I've used for other projects. I just save my old lids and I reuse them for things like jar salads and such that I'm not actually canning with those lids. So at this point, I am chopping up broccoli and cucumber and tomatoes, and if I had celery, I would do it now. Any kind of vegetables, carrots are great, that I don't mind soaking in the dressing for several days. Now, people also ask me, how long do these jar salads last? We can go 7 days or so. Sometimes they are gone by day 4, but I've taken a jar salad out like 8 days after, and it's been just fine. So in my salads in jars guide, there's a lot of different recipes, and you can pull your ingredients for that. Since we are doing our freezer and pantry cooking challenge, I am just using up what I have. I did so far in this challenge allow myself, because again, my rules, allowed myself to go to Aldi, and all those fresh fruits and vegetables that we got, we used in a variety of different ways over about 2 weeks. And so even though I spent $194 divided by 2 weeks, that was just great. And we had also gotten some eggs and some other necessities in there. Now I've also so far spent $104 on bananas and butter. Basically the butter came to almost $100, and then I also got a refill on bananas. That was during week 3, and you'll see that video coming out. And so we're trucking right along. I don't mind spending $100 or even $200 here and there when I need to. Again, I'm not going out and doing a huge 4 to 6 week haul. We are, 90% of what we're using are items that we already have. It is heavy garden season, and I've got a lot of happy gardeners in my area that want to bless me with produce. And so again, my friend's lettuce I have, and then also there's a community garden I have helped with, and the corn is coming in. And so we are getting produce and doing meals with those items also. I just can't line up when I get that produce exactly when I might have holes in my house, holes in my own refrigerator, meaning like if I need zucchini and eggs, well now currently while I'm doing this voiceover, we're in a zucchini flood. But before, when I had gone to Aldi for that one time during week 2, I had no zucchini in my house. And so I wanted some zucchini, so I just bought a couple packs of zucchini. So anyway, after I get the layer of vegetables, right now I'm doing the tomatoes and sugar snap peas from Aldi. And then I will add my layer of protein, which for these jar salads, we're just using canned chicken. And then I'm going to cram in as much washed garden fresh lettuce as we can. And I have about, out of my 10 humans who live here, there's about four of us that really enjoy the grab and go jar salads. And so having a dozen, that's 4 jar salads roughly per person. And so it's a nice meal prep that I like to get done. I probably get this done these days about twice a month. And it's just nice when I have it done. Obviously on other days we can just make a quick salad as needed. But I always thank myself when I'm able to get my jar salads done. I've also gotten some questions on, and how we were all already, hardworking and chatting about lots of questions just on the developing parameters of the Use It Up freezer and pantry challenge. And again, I haven't felt like this was something I wanted to do or I could do in over a year. And here I am, look at us, we're doing it. And so my number 1 rule in the Use It Up freezer and pantry challenge is I am being gentle on myself. The number 2 rule is whenever, as I guess guidelines, I like guidelines better. That definitely seems more gentle. or suggestions anyway, is that as we need necessities, you know, if we need milk or bananas or some more fresh fruits and vegetables to go along with all the items we're using up from the freezers and pantry. So at Aldi, we spent the $194, and that was on fresh fruits and veggies and gluten-free items and eggs. And then about a week later, we spent $104 for a Walmart order, and that was all butter, because I have to have butter to cook, and bananas. And those bananas were the fruit fill-in during the week after the Aldi order, as we were using those items up. And hey, toddler life, we always need many pounds of bananas around here. And I also like a good banana with some sugar-free natural peanut butter, and also wrapped in an egg life wrap. Oh my goodness, delicious. And sugar-free almond milk. Oh yes. So that's definitely one of my favorite mama snacks when I'm allowed to have a banana too. So that's what we have spent so far. Now, in my previous video, we did also have a birthday party. We don't have any other big birthday party extravaganzas until the fall. My birthday is coming up in August, and we are doing a fun family adventure for that I will definitely be sharing some of the details about. But anyway, kid birthdays, you know, kid birthdays as needed. And so that budget money was actually part of their birthday budget for doing their party and all those good things. And so now I'm going to put these salad jars in the refrigerator, and we will wipe up the counter. But just saying that this is how the challenge is going so far. Some people, it's just some questions I have received. Folks have been confused about, well, wait a minute, you're just using what you have and getting meals in the freezer. That's not really a challenge. Well, it's for right now, it's a challenge for me to get that done. And we are in turn using those meals, just like the 9.5 dozen biscuits total that I did in this video. We've already used several dozen biscuits. I think I cooked 2.5 biscuits up on this day. And then a few days later, we did another 2 dozen biscuits. And then maybe a week later in the future, we did another 3 dozen biscuits. So yes, I'm prepping things and making them, but we're also using them now, and we'll be using them through the challenge. And sure, in October, maybe we're eating our last shepherd's pie that we make during this time, but we're still using it up, and that's what I'm trying to do. All right, so we asked a lot of this bread, okay? From the baking soda to baking powder, 30 teaspoon fiasco, to the freezing it and then slightly defrosting it and baking it. I mean, this is my kind of bread, okay? It has lived a full life. So these little precious mini muffins, I mean, they're just delightful, and they have been loved already. These 2 loaves are beautiful. They're just absolutely, well, let's see if I can flip it. They're still warm, but they came out lovely. They're just all stars. This 9 by 13, I cut it down the middle to get it out of its pan. It came out. I baked that one in the Pioneer Woman dish. And then we have the 2 that, I mean, they certainly tried. Okay, this one I had poured in the deep dish pan, and the bottom has a situation. Maybe I can cut it in half. There we go. And then this one is a little scorched around the edges. Ooh, pretty scorched there on the bottom. But I'm hopeful that with some cutting, with some slicing down, it'll still serve its purpose. Pretty good freezer fruit bread. I mean, it's been a while. I'm proud of us. We did this thing. We made it. And yeah. And so those long loaves were just delightful. And then my loaf that coming up here. Right now I'm cutting the long loaves, and we're just seeing how nice those baked up. And that's how I'm going to freeze those in individual slices to a certain point. And then I also just put, like, we'll say a third of the loaf at a time in a bag. Right now I'm doing the mini muffins in there. And then we also take the time to cut the burnt part off of that one loaf. Again, I just think for all that bread went through, I mean, it could have not risen at all. It could have talked back to us. It could have not been sweet. There's a lot of calamity that could have happened, and instead we got 3/4 of it looking pretty nice, and we salvaged what we could of that one loaf. And then the loaf that I did in the deep dish pan, not trying to make it deep dish, I needed a pan. That one was too burnt and not thick enough for saving. So one day when I have chickens again, that will just be something that I can throw out to them, and that will be very nice. And so with these loaves that I chop there to get in the gallon bags, I just freeze them like that, because we will realistically, I would say within 6 to 8 weeks, there will be a day where I'm like, okay, what do we need for tomorrow? Okay, I've got 2 half loaves of freezer fruit bread. Let me set that out tonight in the refrigerator, and then we can heat that up in the morning with some butter or other toppings, and breakfast is done. Or we just might need another snack option around here. And so I'll pull that bread out, and over a few days, folks will get the slices, and that'll be great. Okay, so we're gonna get these down in the freezer now, and I did save a bag of the mini muffins up here for the coming days. Okay, so in this project freezer, and these are some fries left over from a birthday party that I must have forgot about, but anyway, and also those cinnamon French toast sticks were from a birthday pickout thing. Anyway, watch the video, you'll see. There's some recent breakfast freezer meals that we did. Still our half gallon of milk from a creamery that I'll use at some point coming up. And the tomatoes and the grapes. So anyway, I think I'm going to just start another shelf here and put our freezer fruit bread in here. We'll be thinking breakfasty type thoughts. And actually, it's like if you give a mouse a cookie. As I'm here looking at my freezers, and you know, a big part of this challenge too is just the fact that my want to is back. Like, I'm wanting to use my ingredients. I'm wanting to make sure my freezers are full and ready to go. I want to use up what's on my canning shelves, and then replace them with items we'll use over the next year or so. So just the big win is I'm inspired now to make a freezer full of breakfast freezer meals. I mean, I have 10 humans of all ages and stages. Having a freezer full of freezer meals makes sense. And then having a freezer full of dinner freezer meals makes sense. What a blessing. Okay, so inspiration struck, and I just thought, what if I could have a freezer that is a breakfast freezer meal freezer? I mean, we've got plans for these grapes and tomatoes and apple peels. Okay, that's an upcoming project. But already I've got 3 shelves developing with large family style breakfast freezer meals. They've already pulled out some of these breakfast bagels with the sourdough bagels that we made last summer, and they've gone through 2 bags recently of the breakfast burritos, and we have some of those upstairs, so I don't need to pull anything out for tonight. But I'm inspired. A freezer full of breakfast freezer meals, and like as we do these projects, we can just continue. That's not going to hurt me in my mama life. I'm excited about that. And so then that means for this freezer meal freezer, this one could truly be like dinner freezer meals. And I mean, I don't think I'll have a freezer with just lunch freezer meals, but maybe like dinner and lunch in here to start. I mean, let's just let that be a problem that we have, right? And we'll see. So we have those baked ziti's and the baked spaghettis. I think I might have one Philly cheesesteak casserole up there. It's labeled, but it's late. You can tell by my voice I'm fading. We got the THM skinny chocolate up there. I've got 4 THM soups left. I've got those THM little personal pizzas that I made. And then that's a variety of other soups and like my jalapeno popper soup. That's a bag of beef stroganoff from last summer that we found when we were cleaning out a freezer. I got a box of frozen peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, more Hangry packet pockets, and then some other convenience items like from Costco. But look at that space. And tomorrow is another grocery store in my basement pantry freezer challenge freezer cooking day, and we have room. We have room for things. Are these waffles? No, that's not. That's a little pizza there. Okay. So anyway, I'm excited. I like this vision. And so in here, I moved the freezer fruit bread. We got the biscuits. We got the applesauce muffins, the burritos, and yeah, just good productive time. So thank you so much, friends, for taking this time with me where we make over 9 dozen freezer biscuits, get over 7 dozen in the freezer. We make, what was it, 5 dozen or so, just over 5 dozen applesauce muffins because I overfilled those cups just a bit. And that's okay because those are definitely a hit. And then we made many loaves. That freezer fruit bread, it survived. It survived, and that's great. And we did get some good freezer fruit bread out of that. I would like to do banana bread in the freezer. Maybe next time John Henry General Store has one of those like 40-pound boxes for basically free, I'll get some bananas back in the freezer for future baking, because the good Lord knows the bananas I buy at Walmart just only last a few days, and they are one of those already gone items, but I do like to get that banana deal when I can. And thank you for hanging out with me for this summer 2024 Use It Up Freezer and Pantry Challenge that I am working my way through. It is good to use mostly, 90% of what I already have on hand to do this future meals and cooking for my family and to do current meals for us. It is just going to be such a blessing to Jamerrill in September, if Jamerrill in July is working through getting these meals done. And again, my capacity is coming back. I'm feeling good about this. I look at this food and I want to make things happen with it. So that is all good around here. So thank you so much for watching. All the links to all the products that you've seen, plus the products I've mentioned, and all the recipes that I've shared today will be linked in the description below. And additionally, one last thing, if you are interested, my YouTuber Extraordinaire course will be opening up at some point this summer. I'm working on expanding it and adding a lot of extra bonus content and working up additional goodies and features for the new release. I will be releasing it for the second time coming up. So if you would like to get on the wait list for that, just head to largefamilytable.com/YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you real soon with another brand new video. Bye-bye.